Warden Case 0006. The Dogman, the modern werewolf. Throughout history, stories have been told of wolf-like creatures walking upon two legs. For generations, most dismissed these accounts as folklore, nothing more than campfire stories or legends passed down through isolated communities. But beginning in the late 19th century, witnesses across North America began describing something remarkably different. Not a cursed man, not a supernatural werewolf, but a towering canine creature, one that appeared to be flesh and blood. Hunters, police officers, campers, and ordinary citizens, many of whom had never heard the name Dogman, began reporting nearly identical encounters, separated by decades, separated by hundreds of miles, yet their descriptions remained remarkably consistent. Today, the wardens recognize these reports under a single investigation. Dogman, one of the most mysterious predators ever documented within North America. This case remains open. History. Unlike many modern cryptids, reports of the Dogman did not suddenly appear overnight. Long before the creature gained widespread attention, stories of large, upright canine creatures circulated throughout the forests of Michigan. According to local tradition, the creature had been stalking the area surrounding the Manistee River since the days of the Odawa people. Whether those early accounts describe the same entity investigated today remains unknown. The first widely documented modern encounter occurred in 1887. Two lumberjacks working in Wexford County, Michigan, reported seeing a creature unlike anything they had ever encountered. They described it as possessing the body of a man, but the head of a large dog. Their account was largely dismissed, yet the reports did not stop. In 1937, a man named Robert Fortney claimed he was attacked near Paris, Michigan, by a pack of wild dogs. During the encounter, he stated that one of the animals rose onto its hind legs and continued pursuing him while walking upright. As the decades passed, additional sightings surfaced throughout Michigan. Reports emerged from Allegan County during the 1950s, then from Manistee and Cross Village during the 1960s. Although separated by years and involving witnesses who had never met, the descriptions remained remarkably consistent. Large, canine, walking upright. By the late 20th century, investigators could no longer ignore the growing number of reports. The creature would eventually become known simply as the Dogman. Warden notes. The wardens have documented this entity since some of its earliest recorded reports. For many years, these encounters were dismissed as nothing more than modern werewolf tales carried over from the old world. But as investigations continued, a different picture began to emerge. The evidence suggested investigators were not dealing with folklore, but with an entirely separate entity. Unlike the werewolf legends, the Dogman shows no connection to the full moon, no evidence of human transformation, and no indication that its appearances follow ancient superstition. Instead, it behaves as a living predator, always present, always hunting. That realization made the case far more troubling. Werewolves belong to legend. The Dogman does not. If these reports are accurate, these creatures are not confined to forgotten stories or distant wilderness. They exist near our forests, our farms, our roads, and sometimes much closer to our homes than most people realize. Do not be caught off guard. The greatest danger is believing there is nothing there to fear. Physical description. Witnesses consistently describe a creature possessing both canine and human characteristics. The head resembles that of a wolf or an unusually large dog. Its ears are tall, pointed, and constantly alert. The muzzle is elongated, filled with large canine teeth capable of inflicting devastating injuries. Most reports describe broad shoulders, an extremely muscular chest, and unusually long arms ending in clawed hands rather than paws. The legs resemble those of a large canine, allowing the creature to move comfortably upon both 2 legs and 4. Fur color varies from black to dark brown, gray, and occasionally light brown. Witnesses frequently report amber, yellow, green, or deep red eyes reflecting in the darkness. Its height is commonly estimated between 6 and 8 feet, though several witnesses insist the creature stood even taller. Weight estimates vary greatly, but most descriptions place the animal somewhere between 300 and 500 pounds. Despite its enormous size, witnesses consistently report that it moves with surprising speed and almost complete silence. Warden notes. One detail investigators noticed very early was that no 2 witnesses described the Dogman exactly the same. Rather than creating contradictions, these differences appear to suggest natural variation between individual creatures. Some witnesses describe an animal resembling an enormous, upright wolf. Others compare it to the ancient Egyptian figure known as Anubis, with a tall, narrow muzzle and long, pointed ears. Still others report something resembling a modern dog, only larger, far more muscular, and somehow wrong. Despite these variations, certain characteristics remain remarkably consistent. Nearly every credible report describes a creature standing between 6 and 8 feet tall, capable of moving naturally upon both 4 legs, and 2. Broad-shouldered, powerfully built, equipped with long claws capable of causing devastating injuries. Witnesses frequently report glowing or highly reflective eyes, a strong, foul odor, and deep, unnatural vocalizations unlike any known canine. The appearance may vary, but the pattern does not. That consistency is one of the primary reasons this case remains open. Behavior. Unlike traditional werewolf legends, reported Dogman encounters rarely begin with an attack. Instead, witnesses frequently describe being watched, followed, observed, sometimes for several minutes. Many encounters end without physical violence. The creature often remains hidden until it chooses to reveal itself. Several reports suggest highly territorial behavior. Others describe apparent intelligence, including stalking human activity, remaining concealed, and retreating only after determining the situation no longer favors it. One detail appears repeatedly throughout hundreds of independent reports: the sound. Witnesses describe impossibly deep growls, low enough to vibrate through the chest. Others report screams unlike any known animal, long, echoing vocalizations, somewhere between a wolf's howl, a human scream, and something entirely unfamiliar. Whether these sounds serve as communication or intimidation remains unknown. Warden notes. One pattern appears throughout Dogman investigations. Most encounters end without a direct attack. Instead, the creature often relies on intimidation. Witnesses describe being watched, followed, growled at, or deliberately confronted from a distance.
In many cases, the Dogman appears content to establish dominance or force people to leave its territory. However, investigators must never mistake restraint for harmlessness. The wardens have documented reports involving severe injuries, disappearances, and fatal encounters believed to involve upright canine entities. While many witnesses survive their encounters, not all do. Another concerning pattern has also emerged. Although solitary individuals are reported most often, several investigations describe 2, 3, or even entire groups operating within the same area. When multiple creatures are present, the danger increases significantly. Never assume an encounter will end peacefully. Remain alert. Leave the area immediately. And never assume the creature you see is the only one watching. Case File 1: The Beast of Bray Road. Few Dogman investigations have received more public attention than the reports surrounding Bray Road near Elkhorn, Wisconsin. Beginning in the late 1980s, residents living along the isolated rural roadway began reporting encounters with a massive wolf-like creature, unlike any known animal. The reports were remarkably consistent. Witnesses described an enormous creature covered in dark fur. Some observed it running on 4 legs. Others watched it standing naturally upon 2. Several claimed it possessed broad shoulders, long muscular arms, a wolf-like head, and glowing yellow eyes reflecting brightly in vehicle headlights. One witness reported seeing the creature crouched beside the road, feeding upon what appeared to be roadkill. As the vehicle approached, the creature calmly stood upright. Without showing any signs of panic, it simply watched the passing car. Other witnesses described encountering the creature while driving late at night. Some claimed it stood motionless beside the roadway. Others reported seeing it leap fences, disappear into nearby woods, or silently observe passing traffic before vanishing into the darkness. As reports continued, local newspapers began investigating the strange encounters. Journalist Linda Godfrey collected dozens of eyewitness statements. What began as a local newspaper investigation soon became one of the best-known Dogman cases in North America. Even today, Bray Road continues producing reports and remains one of the most recognized locations associated with upright canine encounters.
Warden notes, the Bray Road investigation marked a turning point. For decades, Dogman reports had remained scattered. Small towns, hunters, campers, isolated witnesses. Bray Road changed that. For the first time, a single location produced enough independent reports to draw widespread attention. What concerned the wardens most was not the number of sightings, it was their consistency. Witnesses who had never met described the same posture, the same movements, the same glowing eyes, and the same overwhelming feeling that they were being watched by something intelligent. When independent witnesses begin describing the same details, years apart, investigators take notice. Case File 2: The Beast of the Land Between the Lakes. Few Dogman investigations are as controversial or as enduring as those originating from the Land Between the Lakes region along the Kentucky and Tennessee border. For decades, hunters, campers, local residents, and travelers have reported encounters with a towering canine creature unlike any known animal. Witnesses consistently describe a creature standing approximately 7 feet tall, lean, powerfully built, with long muscular arms, digitigrade canine legs, pointed ears, and glowing eyes visible deep within the forest. Several reports describe terrifying howls echoing through the trees after dark. Others tell of unexplained screams, heavy footsteps, branches breaking, and the constant feeling that something unseen was following them. One story has become inseparable from the legend. According to the account, a family staying at a remote cabin was allegedly attacked by a massive upright canine. The story claims investigators later discovered the cabin destroyed and the occupants killed. For years, this account has circulated throughout the cryptid community. Despite extensive discussion, no official documentation confirming the event has ever been located. Because of this, the wardens classify the alleged attack as unverified. However, the location itself continues generating reports. Independent witnesses, separated by years, continue describing remarkably similar creatures throughout the surrounding forests, whether coincidence, folklore, or evidence of an unidentified predator. The land between the lakes remains one of the most active Dogman locations in North America. The lack of evidence has never closed the investigation. If anything, it has only deepened the mystery. Warden notes, one lesson has been repeated throughout this investigation. Never allow a lack of evidence to become proof that nothing exists. The alleged attack at land between the lakes cannot be verified. Because of that, the wardens will never present it as fact. However, the location itself continues producing credible witness reports. That is where investigators remain focused. One story can become exaggerated over time. Dozens of independent encounters describing the same type of creature demand further investigation. It is often the pattern, not the individual report, that reveals the truth. Sometimes, the evidence is not found in a single encounter. It is found in decades of witnesses who have never met, yet continue describing the same impossible predator. Case File 3, the Kentucky Roadside Encounter. One winter evening, a woman was driving home after work along an isolated Kentucky roadway. The area overlooked a wooded valley, bordered by scattered businesses and dense forest. She pulled into a small roadside turnout, stepped from her vehicle, and immediately sensed something wasn't right. Nearby, 3 deer stood perfectly still. They weren't feeding. They weren't fleeing. Instead, every one of them stared toward the tree line. The witness followed their gaze. Stand out partially concealed among the trees was a massive canine figure. It towered above the surrounding brush. Its broad shoulders, powerful chest, and unmistakable wolf-like head made it unlike any animal she had ever seen. Then, the creature growled. The witness later stated, the sound wasn't simply heard, it was felt. The vibration passed through her chest and into the ground beneath her feet. Unlike many witnesses, she did not immediately run. Having spent years training large working dogs, her instincts took over. She crouched slightly, maintained eye contact, and growled back. The creature stopped. For several long seconds, neither moved. Then, the animal slowly lifted its head. It sniffed the air, took several cautious steps forward, never breaking eye contact. The witness slowly backed toward her vehicle, resisting every instinct to turn and run. After another tense moment, the creature stopped, turned, walked calmly back into the woods, and disappeared into the darkness. The witness later admitted she has never returned to that location. Final warden notes of all the entities currently investigated by the wardens. The Dogman appears to come into contact with humans more frequently than almost any other. One of the most troubling aspects of this case is the creature's range. Reports continue to emerge from across North America, often appearing in areas with no previous history of activity. Evidence also suggests these creatures may shift their territory, following available food sources, or relocating as environmental conditions change. If true, this would explain why encounters sometimes increase suddenly within a particular region, only to decline just as quickly. One question continues to trouble investigators. If Dogman encounters are reported this frequently, how many are never reported at all? The wardens only receive accounts from those who survive, or from witnesses fortunate enough to escape. The forests, the mountains, and the remote wilderness do not always give people a second chance. Because of that, the true number of encounters may never be known, nor the true number of tragedies. The wardens document the survivors. The wilderness keeps the rest. Remain vigilant. Do not dismiss an unusually large canine as simply another dog. Do not ignore behavior that seems impossible, and never assume that what you are seeing is an ordinary animal. Final assessment. For more than 100 years, reports of large upright canine creatures have continued across North America. Hunters, campers, police officers, farmers, families. Many had never heard the name Dogman, yet they described remarkably similar encounters. Towering canine figures, glowing eyes, deep growls that could be felt through the chest, unnatural screams echoing through the night, and an intelligence that suggested they were not simply wild animals. The wardens have investigated this entity for well over a century. Despite every report, every witness, and every expedition, the Dogman remains unidentified. No verified specimen has ever been recovered. No known species fully explains the reports. Yet the sightings continue. Generation after generation, state after state. Whether these encounters represent an undiscovered predator, a relic species, or something science has yet to recognize, remains unknown. Until those answers are found, this investigation will remain active. Case status: open investigation ongoing.